Well, welcome. This is the City of Everett Budget City Council Committee meeting for September 17th, 2025. For those of you watching live and maybe recorded, we appreciate your interest in city business. And so we'll begin with our administrator, Jennifer Gregerson, to talk about our agenda.
Well, I will just turn it over to our budget finance team here that has a presentation for you. Starting with monthly report and then building into general government forecast.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Jamie Graves, Assistant Finance Director, and with me is Heidi Berlantes, Finance Director. We are going to begin with a review of our year-to-date budget performance through July 31st, followed by an update to the development of the 2026 general government budget. Starting off with general government revenues, as of July 31st, revenues exceeded year-to-date projections by $2,147,681, or 2.3%. This increase is driven primarily by B&O tax revenues, along with strong performance in grants and other tax categories. Taking a closer look at our major revenue streams, business and occupation tax receipts are up $836,210, or 5.4% year to date. Our largest B&O payments are received quarterly in January, April, July, and October. Sales tax receipts continue to be aligned with the budget, coming in just $296,926, or 1.3% below projections year to date. As you know, sales tax receipts have a 2-month lag, so July receipts reflect May activity. This table lists our 6 largest sales tax categories, the percent each category makes up of total sales tax receipts based on July 31st results, as well as how each one is performing relative to budget. Wholesale trade, manufacturing, and information came in above budget, while retail, construction, and accommodation and food services have fallen short. Sales tax revenues are currently tracking close to budget, which puts us in a relatively strong position. While we are seeing some categories affected by broader economic conditions, other sectors are outperforming expectations. These stronger than anticipated gains are helping to offset weaker performance in other areas, allowing us to stay largely on target with overall sales tax collections.
Question on I'll just stick with our revenue. Do you have our B&O tax divided up in any categories?
Yes, I don't have that with me, but we do have it divided out by sectors.
You don't, I know you want to be perfect in the numbers, but what's the biggest?
It'd be manufacturing is our largest.
Manufacturing, B&O
Mhm.
tax. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions on revenue? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councilmember
I
Bader.
just want to apologize if I'm jumping the gun here, but if the impact of the Boeing strike is still working its way through, where is that at? Where do we see that? If we saw a drop in revenue that was caused by that.
You would see it in our business taxes and sales tax under the manufacturing category.
So thanks, Mayor. So we're not really seeing that at this point then, because it looked like manufacturing was actually up over.
We saw it a couple of months ago. Is that correct? I think.
We'll probably see it earlier this year because of the 2-month lag.
Okay. Gotcha. So that lag has now worked its way through. And okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Right. Moving on to general government expenditures, just like with revenues, we base our monthly expenditure forecast on historical trends, which helps us plan for the natural ebb and flow of expenses throughout the year. Year-to-date expenditure came in $1,738,437, or 1.8% under budget. Departments continue to remain below budget, showing good financial management. We'll now transition to the second portion of the presentation, focusing on the 2026 general government budget update. Developing a budget is an essential process that requires careful planning, forecasting, and balancing of revenues and expenditures. The budget serves as a roadmap for how funds will be allocated to support essential services, maintain infrastructure, and invest in the future. This process has two key components: revenues, the sources of funding, and expenditures, how the funds are used. The balance between these factors directly impacts the city's ability to deliver services to its residents while ensuring long-term financial stability. We have a revenue workshop next month where we will go more in depth, but we wanted to provide an overview of the major categories that drive budget development. On the revenue side, we have property tax, sales tax, B&O, other taxes, cost allocation, and miscellaneous revenues. On the expenditure side, we have labor costs, operating expenses, cost allocation, external charges, reserve funds, and unfunded mandates. By understanding the dynamics of both revenue and expenditures, the city can develop a budget that supports the delivery of essential services while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Moving on to the general government forecast. This graph shows the city's general government long-range financial outlook. As of August 2025, we're projecting a budget deficit of $7.9 million in 2026. This figure reflects our updated revenue and expenditure forecast after completing a robust reforecasting process in July. Please be reassured that the measure that will be presented in the next few slides balances the 2026 budget. The next 4 slides will walk you through preliminary balancing measures and will show you how the deficit projections are adjusted based on the 2026 proposed balancing measures. One key item I want to highlight is a spike in 2031. This is tied to the police and fire Left One pension funds, which are assumed to reach its actuarial funding target in 2030. This also assumes that no further contributions will be made starting in 2031 because the pension funds will be fully funded. As mentioned in the past, Everett is not alone in facing these budget challenges. Cities across the state are grappling with similar structural deficits while trying to maintain balanced budgets.
Question?
I have a question on the actuary. I know it's every couple years we get those. When is the next one, or when was the most current one?
Yes, we just did one for 2025.
Uh-huh.
And then on an annual basis, we do get updates just for financial reporting purposes. So the most recent actuarial valuation keeps with our target of 2030, but there are options to extend contributions for through 2035 as well as 2040 for consideration.
And I thought we got to look at that. Do we, usually that information, I remember seeing it before a couple years ago, but.
Yeah, I guess just through his.
Yeah, I think it was requested by council during a budget process, but I don't think we, as a routine,
Oh, okay.
pass that along. But if it's
That
of
would be curious
interest.
to look at it. I think that would be,
Yes, I have that available.
okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I have, thank you for that. Did you have more? Because I was
No,
gonna
that was
ask,
it.
I was gonna ask a question on that same item too. Thank you. So right now when we go through the budget process, we project a fully funded and by 2030, meaning the revenue that we generate from interest accounts will pay for the liability. Is that correct?
True, interest earnings is a revenue source. So is Medicare D and fire premium insurance tax. The largest component, though, would be a general government contribution. We've been contributing even before 1998. That's just as far as record that I have. With that, anytime we suspend contributions in any given year, we are increasing contributions for future years to keep up with that 2030 target.
And so when we talk about our government deficit forecast, we are actually increasing it by not allocating more money each year into that fund or not funding that as we projected.
In the future years, yes, by suspending contributions, it could increase the number, the deficit figure for future years. But it's also helpful to consider how much is available in the pension funds and can we meet current and future obligations. With that, we do use our actuarial valuation to understand the future outlook when it comes to what expenses, how much expense will be coming out of pension funds. And we do test the model. So, even without, as an example, if we didn't contribute to the police pension fund in 2027, we wouldn't run into a deficit until 2048 per the actuarial report. With the fire pension fund, we wouldn't have a deficit in the fund if we didn't have contributions for 27.
Thank you.
And another thing is, I think from just an audit perspective of looking at other cities' financial statements, it is more uncommon to do a pre-funding
Mhm.
process than it is to do a pay-as-you-go.
Correct. Thank you.
Oh, is it my turn? Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead. Thank you.
Sure. So we begin balancing measures by first reviewing actions that were implemented in the 2025 budget and are being carried forward into the 2026 budget. We've continued the suspension of general government contributions to the Left One police and fire pension funds. And as I had mentioned, this does not create a deficit within the pension funds for at least several years. We are maintaining a $1 million reduction in the general government's contribution to the city's street overlay program. This mirrors a similar reduction included in the 2025 budget. Even with this reduction, the program remains funded through other dedicated resources. This includes $1.6 million from car tab fee revenues, $526,000 from property tax, so there still is a general fund subsidy, and $300,000 from CIP3, and the main source from that is real estate excise tax. Altogether, this leaves $2.4 million for street overlay work in 2026.
One question, what do we normally put into that account if we're a million less? Just curious what we normally, is it just those sources that you just mentioned?
Yes, we also have state shared revenues, that are restricted for transportation uses such as the gas tax.
Okay. Just making sure we have enough.
I think historically we put another million in.
Oh, okay.
And that's what the reduction is, as I think, well, certainly as Heidi and team have discussed with me, but also in the meetings we've had with all of you, most cities do not use property tax to fund street overlay. It's one of our prides as a city is that we do have such nice roads because we have been, funding it with other sources as well, such as property tax. But this was a balancing measure at this point that we are currently recommending.
Councilmember Vogely.
When it comes to street overlay and how we typically fund it and how we are possibly funding it less this time, do you have like a square footage of streets overlaid at the cost? I really don't expect you to have that answer right now, but is that even a thing? Because I know that we plan on going around and fixing streets. And so how many streets are we fixing for the amount of money that we're giving it? Is the question that you can answer now or later.
Yes, and I would have to divert that to our Public Works Director, Ryan Sass, but I'll make sure that question gets forwarded so we respond to your question timely.
Thank you.
Yes, do you want to reiterate what the mayor said? The cities, not all cities fund their street overlay programs using general fund dollars. Instead, they rely on sources such as car tab fees, traffic impact fees, state or federal grants, and state shared revenues restricted for those transportation uses. An example of this, just going through comparisons, the city of Renton and the city of Marysville have no general fund subsidy to their street overlay program. It's all from car tab fees. Everett's continued support of this program, though, even at a reduced level, reflects our commitment to maintaining infrastructure while navigating our fiscal constraints.
So I had a question about the car tab fee. How do they compare to the city of Everett's car tab fees?
As far as the revenue goes?
Yes, well, you said Marysville and Renton collect. I know there's some variables. There's a tool that cities could use to increase those. Is that correct?
Right, through councilmanic action,
Yeah.
we could increase car tab fees.
I was just wondering how we compare to those two cities as far as our car tab fees. If you knew, it's okay. We can get that answer later. We'll probably be addressing that in the future.
I have that spreadsheet. I just don't have with
Yeah, no, that's
that with
fine.
me
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
But I believe Frenton's revenues is $1.5 million from car tab fees.
I meant more like of the rate or the fee. It's individually.
Yes,
So 40.
Yeah.
they're $40.
Okay, thanks.
And now let's look at the expenditure balancing measures. First, we've eliminated the standard 2% growth in departmental maintenance and operations, or M&O budgets, resulting in savings of $213,000. Not funding M&O growth is very difficult on our teams, but given our limited choices for reductions, we do recommend this again. We have kept M&O flat for several years. It's been a reoccurring balancing measure. Second, we're continuing to fund Volunteers of America Community Center Management Contract using Senior Center Reserve Funds. For 2026, this amounts to $200,000. There is a final contractual payment of $150,000 scheduled for 2027. So that would be our last payment to VOA. Lastly, we've made reductions to human needs related programs totaling $308,000. However, this does keep $300,000 for human needs grants and a $50,000 contribution for Claire's Place supportive housing in 2026. And these contributions are the same as what's being provided within our 2025 budget.
Thank you. For the elimination of the department's 2% M&O growth, how many years in a row have we done that? And what's the cumulative amount that we've saved? Or I wouldn't even say saved because, our departments are struggling with not being able to buy supplies and whatnot.
Right, and predominantly the general government's made out of labor costs, so even just a 2% shred from an M&O budget wouldn't amount to, greater than $300,000 in any given year. I would have to look back at how long we've reduced or eliminated the 2% growth, but I know ever since I've been here, it has been a balancing measure.
Great. Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Now shifting to the revenue side, the remaining balancing measures affecting revenue relates to operating transfers into the general government. First, we're proposing to continue the use of lodging tax revenues to support staffing for city-led events and to fund the Everett Performing Arts Center management contract up to $334,957. The next item relates to the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA congressional grant. The city originally received this $4.5 million congressional grant in late 2024. We've since been approved for an extension for the remaining $1,068,150, and this will go to support the city's alternative crisis response program within community development. We're proposing a transfer of $1,067,725 from the Criminal Justice Fund 156. This fund is supported by the 0.1% criminal justice sales tax, which is restricted for public safety related expenses. The transferred funds will directly support the police department's violent crimes unit, which includes 6 full-time employees. Now moving to the use of local COVID relief program funds. By the end of 2025, there will be an estimated $2,296,117 in unallocated and unspent local COVID relief funds. Since these dollars have not yet been allocated by council, they are available to help balance the 2026 budget. In addition, we're proposing to reallocate several previously allocated but unspent COVID relief funds. This includes $2 million for daytime service access. We've been unable to secure an operational partner to manage the facility, and equally as important, there is no additional budget to support ongoing operational cost. Therefore, we're recommending reallocation of these funds. $256,139 for the Clean Everett program. Funds do remain to support the annual cleanup event and dump fee in 2026 and 2027. And this allows the unspent balance to be reallocated. And lastly, $300,000 for tree planting. The Parks and Community Services Department has since secured a federal grant of $967,493. It's a multi-year federal program that was passed through from the Snohomish County Conservation District. Since this grant now funds the same work, the COVID relief funds previously set aside for tree planting are no longer needed. With all of these balancing measures on both the revenue and expenditure side, we closed the projected $7.9 million deficit for the 2026 budget.
Councilmember Ryan.
Thanks. I just wanted to share on the record that for the general government special projects local COVID relief program,
Sure.
the funds that haven't been allocated or spent yet, I would like to see one more hurrah with the money for projects that maybe the city's had their eye on, or supporting different departments that have been cut drastically. You know, I feel like it's our last chance to use these one-time federal dollars for good for the city. You know, I understand the need to balance our budget, but I would love to see if there's just like a few programs or anything that we can do to better the city, or just something a little bit more fun, I guess.
Councilmember Tui was,
Yeah,
she had her
I
hand up quicker.
do agree with Councilmember Ryan on that, but my question on that is that's nearly $5 million from COVID relief that we're utilizing one time to offset our deficit. And so it's not going to help us in the future years. And so we're still going to have this delta. I sure would like to have that conversation, start having those conversations of how we're going to work on this. Because if we don't tackle something every year, it's just never going to go away.
Mhm.
And, you know, what will we do when we don't have COVID funds next year?
Mhm.
I think that's a great point, and that's what we have been doing. So part of that conversation last year, years before, this year as well, that's part of these balancing measures, but it's definitely one to continue having.
Councilmember Bader.
Thanks. But if we do take some of these COVID monies that were presently being recommended, we use to balance the general, but we need to identify cuts somewhere else at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that's incumbent on us if we're suggesting a use somewhere else on that.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, just to make a comment on that, as a city, we actually, I mean, using COVID funds for general operating dollars is actually pretty prevalent. Is that correct? My understanding is the city of Everett, we have distributed most of that, more money percentage wise for other uses other than the general operating budget.
Thank you.
And so if you could make a couple comments about that.
Yes, so we did compare our use of ARPA and our local COVID relief program combined. So other cities, their internal expenditures ranged from 77% through 96% of their ARPA allocation. With the city, it would be 50% if we adopted these balancing measures. On the flip side, other cities have used between 4% to 23% for external, really put those resources out into the community. But even with applying these balancing measures, 50% would still be going out to the community.
A lot more than other cities is my point. All right. Well, that's I'm glad to hear that, actually. So
I think, you know, all the cities across our country, you know, had challenges with COVID and the havoc it wreaked on our budgets. And then you pile Washington State structural deficit on top of that. I think it forced a lot of cities into utilizing those one-time dollars for balancing measures, and they did it earlier than we did. We, of course, you as a council, really focused on how can we put as many of these dollars out into the community as possible. And I think we've done an exceptional job of that, with at least 50% being reinvested into our communities, whether it was through small business grants or your council allocations to different nonprofits and organizations, which I think has been really helped Everett recover more quickly than other communities. But we also are in the same boat as all of the other cities across the state of Washington with our structural deficit. And this was a balancing measure that I am recommending to you, because I don't see something that I would cut. As much as I would love to spend them and continue to invest them in the community in other ways, I don't know an area of the city that could fathom additional cuts at this point.
I have
Councilor Antoni.
just one other question. It's not really related to that part, but have you guys, what your expectations are for wages and salaries increases for this coming year? What
Mhm.
percentage?
As far as overall, because each,
Yeah.
aside from appointed employees, the cost of living increases are really under the terms of the collective bargaining agreements. Appointive generally aligns with AVSME, and AVSME generally aligns with inflation. So that's 2.68% across the board for appointive employees.
And that includes health benefits and everything. We're
Yeah.
seeing that should be about right.
Yes, there was no need to increase benefit rates, so they remain unchanged from what we're seeing in 2025.
That's good.
Mhm.
Councilmember Bader.
Maybe to clarify further, that the proposed items or amount that we need to cut to get to a balanced budget takes into account that there are going to be increases
Correct.
in salaries and maybe benefit. I don't know, maybe you just say maybe not on benefits. I didn't
Yes.
quite understand it. but-
Yeah, that includes salaries, wages, health benefits, retirement, FICA, Medicare. So,
So you're not going to come back to us on December 31st, say, oh, wait, we
no,
have,
that's
we have
factored
to do
into.
salaries. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I will also just share that our Vera clinic is continuing to help keep our rising healthcare costs down. That decision we made a number of years ago to encourage more and more employees to move to that plan is helping. And so that's part of what's keeping our healthcare costs flat.
I would like to add that our bargaining unit, our unions are well aware, and they have made concessions with their comparables. So they're part of this process. So I know all our city staff is short. So I just want to recognize that. Councilmember Bogley, did I see a hand?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I want to ask or not. Has the raising of the minimum wage has it had very much impact on salaries in the city of Everett? I mean, not the whole city, in our budget.
No, it's more so to consider for our seasonal employees to make sure that it doesn't fall below the Everett's minimum wage.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So this graph compares the revised general government forecast shown in blue with the previous August 2025 forecast that's shown in orange. So that's the slide or the graph that Jamie Lee had shared at the beginning of this presentation. The 2026 budget is now balanced, and the projected deficit in 2027 has been reduced by $1.2 million compared to what we were seeing in August. It's important to note that some of the 26 balancing measures we discussed are one-time resources, which means they will not address deficits in the out years and will need to be replaced with ongoing solutions. So the city of Everett has been grappling with a structural deficit for more than 20 years. Over that time, we've taken many steps to address it. These efforts have included multiple rounds of voluntary separation programs, entering into public-private partnerships with the county, the port, private businesses, and making significant changes to the city's employee benefit program. We've also updated service fees to align with our peer cities, invested in technology to streamline operations and improve service delivery, and leveraged grant funding whenever possible to offset cost. Through all of these combined efforts, the mayor and city council have successfully closed a cumulative budget gap of approximately $99 million between 2018 and 2025. I'd say this is a significant accomplishment in managing the city's long-term financial challenges. So this concludes our presentation. I'd like to open it up for any further questions.
I have just one.
Yeah,
I just have
Councilmember Joy.
one. So we have, I know that COPS grant, you said last week, we were still getting payments for how much longer does that, do we receive payments and how much do we get each year? I'm just curious where we're at on that because it was pretty substantial, I thought.
Yes, it's meant to term in the middle of 2026. However, it's possible to get an extension. I just need to check with the police
Oh,
department
okay.
who's more aligned with that program to get you better.
Okay, I thought we'd already
information.
done the extension. Okay.
We've hired all the cops, but
Right.
we have to apply for the extension to ensure, because if the ones that were hired late, for example, like,
Mhm.
it's a 3-year grant that pays for their salaries or part of their salaries. And so if we hired somebody last year with a cops grant, then we might miss some of that salary if we don't get that extension.
Right.
It's typical, we apply for extensions with all our grants, although with this administration, I'll reiterate that nothing's typical. But we can get those dollars for you exactly when they sunset
Yeah.
and
that'd be great.
with or without the extension. yeah.
Great, thank you.
You got another one? Another question?
No. I don't.
Okay. Anyone else?
That's President.
Yeah, Councilmember Everett.
Great. And I guess I think reiterate and that, I mean, for instance, I'm not really excited about this reducing the street overlay program. But if I'm not excited about that, I need to dig into the budget and figure out what I'd suggest to all of us at this point should be cut instead. So, correct summarization, I think, of the situation.
That and considering any revenue solutions
Yeah.
that's available.
Well, Powerball didn't work for me. So anyhow.
Well, good work as usual. We really appreciate your staff and all the effort you put in. And I know we all have a lot of tough decisions, and this discussion on the budget has been going on and the challenges that we have ahead. So was there anything more on the agenda? Okay, with no further business, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.